Hello guys. So I had my second infusion today, and this is what you look like after getting 5 hours of chemotherapy. I feel like a turd. My head hurts really bad. My blood pressure was high again today, but that's how the medication works. It elevates your blood pressure. So the key tonight for me is to stay quiet, which is hard. If you know me, that's hard. And just to rest. So I had a friend ask me the other day why I'm so emotional right now. This person hasn't known me for maybe but a year. And so for me to be this emotional in front of her was very weird. So we talked the other day and I was crying. And I think she was trying to figure out, and if I start crying, I'm going to pause and take a minute and gain my composure and then come back. So I explained to her that this is PTSD. A lot of people think PTSD is military related. So a lot of people think that PTSD is military related. Like if you've suffered through a bombing or gunfire or, something traumatic like that. But the PTSD actually is post-traumatic. So it is an event that happens after the initial trauma, stress disorder. And when you are diagnosed with rheumatoid arthritis, it is very traumatic. So you go through the grieving process. First, you're in shock. You don't know what this disease really is. You don't know what it looks like. And you think, oh, this is what grandma had. And, well, that's not so bad. And then you realize it's not. And then you start looking up statistics on why it's different. And then you become overwhelmed. And then you become depressed. And at some point you get angry. And all of those, and then you start bargaining and saying, God, if you just get me through this, I promise I'm going to do everything right. I'm going to be the best person. I'm going to work out every day and I'm going to eat healthy. And then when that doesn't happen, and then you get angry and you curse God, or you curse your God, or whoever you curse, your goddesses, your gods. That whole thing is part of trauma. So when you're diagnosed with this, you have a series of traumatic events in the grieving process, in trying to get used to life with this new thing that has been given to you unwantingly. And especially when you live with it for a while, it wears on you. So chronic pain every day, if you think about it, if you had a headache every single day, all day, unrelenting, the only thing that Tylenol or Excedrin did for it was take the edge off a little bit. By a couple of days, you would be pretty miserable, and you would start a pity party, and you would start feeling bad. And so people who suffer from RA with no relief, like I was fortunate to have in remission, that's every day, 365 days a year, every year that they have the disease. And so there's a lot of trauma in that. And so when I started coming out of remission, those memories came back. Okay, I'm going to pause. Okay, I'm back. So when I started coming out of remission, those memories started coming back. The last memories that I had before I was in remission, how hard I was struggling and how depressed I was. And I was suicidal at some point, and I had not been under the care of a therapist at that time. Okay, I'm going to pause again. Okay, I'm back. My face is probably going to get continuously redder, so you're just going to have to deal with it. But I was suicidal at a period of time. And so when you think about when a military person comes back from being deployed, the emotions that they go through, the trauma that they relive in their dreams, the suicidal thoughts that they have, even though our traumas are different, the process is the same. So that's why I have all these emotions. Because I'm remembering all of those feelings and all of those thoughts that I had the last time. I'm gonna pause. So I'm remembering all of those feelings and those thoughts that I had the last time that I felt like this. And that's overwhelming. So when I first went to remission, I was scared of it because I had been living with the trauma of this disease for so long. I was scared to think, do I dare give myself some hope that there's a way to live without this? And God, it probably took me the better part of a year to get used to the idea that this could be a reality, that this could be something I could do. And the longer that my body stayed in remission, the less I started to be consumed with those traumatic thoughts, the farther I moved away from feeling the effects of PTSD. And I got into counseling, and that helped immensely. And that gave me a lot of insight on what it is that I'm going through. So, I know that that's possible for me to live like that again. And that wasn't a thought before, because I didn't know if remission was possible. I thought I was going to be one of those 30% of people who never get it. And I mean, the truth is, I may not ever get it again. I may, but I may not. I don't know. If you gamble, I don't know if the odds are in my favor. Hunting Games reference. Hunger Games reference, sorry. So the hope is there that I will find remission again. But at the same time, the PTSD is here. Gonna pause. So in my brain, I'm trying to resolve the feelings of grief. I'm grieving the loss of remission. I'm grieving the loss of independence. I'm grieving waking up with minimal or no pain. With the hope that I can get that back. And what is the reality that I will get that back? So there's that dichotomy that's going along in my brain right now, and I'm not really sure. It depends on the day. It depends on the hour. It depends on whether my hands are working. It depends on a lot of things. I'm gonna pause. It depends on a lot of things. So I may bounce back and forth between these two thoughts multiple times during the day. I may have a completely shitty day and I'm only on the trauma side. I may have a less shitty day and I bounce back and forth between the hopeful side. So I don't really know how to make this relatable to you other than using it in the sense of like a military PTSD analogy. I don't know how many of you have been in the military or have kids or parents in the military, if you can relate to that. I hope you can. So when you go through a disease like this, I'm gonna pause. Okay, so when you go through a disease like this, or if you know somebody who's going through a disease like this isn't something that you just take a pill and bada bing, your headache goes away. I mean, for some people who have a very low disease activity, that may work. For the majority of us, we tread water. My rheumatologist told me one time there are 25% of his patients who find remission. And he was telling me this when I was in remission, so I was feeling like I was the champion of the world. There are 50% of his patients who tread water, which means they are getting by on a daily basis, tolerating pain and ignoring it up to a certain level, and just getting through the day, basically. And then there are 25% of his patients who never know it, who never find the magic cocktail. And they do this all their lives. And I'm gonna pause. The suicide rates among chronic pain sufferers is high. It's unusually high. And I totally understand why. I try not to compare this disease to cancer, but I'm gonna. So, because my very first rheumatologist told me on my very first meeting, so here I am walking into his office. I have no idea what to expect. I don't know anything about this disease, and he tells me, if it were between having rheumatoid arthritis and cancer, I would have cancer. And that was shocking. I didn't know what to think of that. This is the man that I'm coming to him that I think is magically going to make me better. So, dealing with a disease like this, there's no cure. So people are working on it, and it doesn't get funding that cancer gets because there's not as much education about the disease and about what it's really like. So I hope I can educate all of you guys on my videos. If you know my face, I'll be right back. Okay. If you know my face, if you know my personality, you know this isn't the real me. I love being funny. I love being adventurous. I love being a smartass really bad. I love working out. I love volunteering. I love doing things. I love being busy. And so having this disease is a 180 from the me that you might know. That doesn't mean that she's gone. I'm a Gemini too. Can you believe it? Of course I am. It just means this version of me is standing up front right now until she can come back. So, today was my last infusion for a couple of months. I go see my doctor in 2 months. At that time, we'll do some tests to see if the Rituxan has sufficiently killed all of my B cells in my blood. If I have a 0 B cell count and I'm feeling better, then that is the optimal solution, and that means that I'm probably going back into remission. If I have a 0 blood cell count, but I'm not feeling better, that means my RA is being triggered by something else. And we have to go on this hunt and peck scavenger hunt to figure out what combination of medications is going to tap on that right trigger. If I don't have a 0 B cell count, that means the Rituxan failed and did not do its job properly. So I don't know what will happen at that point. I've not had a Rituxan infusion where it did not decimate all of my B cells. So I don't know what happens at that point. So it's a wait and see game. Until then, I love that you guys are sending me cards. I can't believe it. And sending me messages, and that is so wonderful. That means so much. It makes it a real bright spot for me. And so if I could cross these fingers, cross your fingers that this dose of Rituxan for at least another 6 months starts to work. In 6 months' time, I will get a second dose. And if I need a second dose. So that's why I've been saying that today I was like the second of 4 doses, because it's typically 4 doses in a year. So let's hope I don't need another one. Chances are I'll probably get it anyway, because if a little works, more is better, right? So that's all for now, and I'll touch base with you guys later. Bye.